Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Power Hour with Steve Mann and Southland Data Processing, HR and Payroll Services. And let's get right into it. I want to bring Steve in because he's got an exciting presentation today that's packed with power. And as I say, there's a lot of meat on this bone that you'll want to be part of. So let's bring Steve in. Hey, Steve, good morning. Sorry, we had a little technical issue on my side, and we kind of had you holding off there. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem, Jeff. Appreciate you facilitating this show. My pleasure to be a part of it.
The good news is you are as handsome as ever, and I'm sure debonair. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up our presentation today, and then we can dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to expect today.
Well, today's presentation is, and I'm not sure if we'll have time for it all today. You let me know if maybe we need to break this up over two presentations, but it's strategies that every business can implement now to avoid costly outcomes. So essentially some cost saving strategies.
I love that. I love that. So, if you're out there and you're thinking, hey, I'm not interested in saving money or avoiding costs, extra costs for when it comes to payroll, then this is probably not for you. But if that's the case, then you probably need to see somebody besides Steve to help you get through that. So, Steve, I'm going to back out, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. And as you're going through it, I'll run the slides on the background. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Okay, so this slide that you see before you now is Southland Data Processing, and I know Southland Data Processing is a mouthful. So after this, I'll be referring to ourselves as SDP. But this is our mission statement, and really we exist to serve our clients, our partners, and the community with unrivaled performance to inspire and create a positive impact. And yeah, so that next slide that you showed, this is a little bit, I think some of these other episodes that we've done, we haven't talked too much about SDP. So really just a quick down and dirty. We are small enough to care about all our clients, anywhere from 1 to 5,000 employees. We are big enough to serve the needs of larger payroll and HR, HR requirements. We are a great comparison to the what we call the big box companies. And I think just maybe one thing I'll highlight is no voicemail during business hours. You call Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you are going to get a live person. Really, I think if there's something that differentiates, a lot of companies say this, but I think the people is the main reason why businesses, large and small, choose Southland Data Processing and stay with us. We're just known for our exceptional service, and we have a very tenured staff. The average tenure of our client services team is 7 years. Okay, so in terms of cost saving strategies, I went on the internet and research some of the top strategies that small businesses can implement to help avoid costly outcomes. And this is what I came up with. Review and monitor business's financial picture, customer and supplier diversification, employee training and development, legal and compliance review, contingency planning, and having a good customer feedback loop. Okay, so what we have seen in the 38 years that SDP has been working with businesses that can be done across all of these areas is automation, automating manual processes. And I think one of the greatest returns any business can achieve is automation. So what I've done here, I've picked a few of the strategies that were on the previous slide and included ways to automate. So let's talk about reviewing the financial picture. So they're automate by investing in a good accounting system that can automate many processes. For example, automate your billing process where you can mail out invoices and collect payment. Employee training and development. Look into a human resource platform that has a learning management system, or LMS for short. These systems should have a library of classes, plus allow the business to upload their own customized courses. And these courses can include personal development, organizational management, people management, and compliance courses, for example, like harassment prevention, and legal and compliance review. Looking for resources outside, getting ahead of me, Jeff, it's okay. Looking for resources outside your organization, online subscription-based options. Ask your providers, like for example, your workers' comp broker or carrier. Some provide advisory services. Ask your payroll and HR companies. SDP, I'm just speaking for SDP. We provide HR support services to help companies stay compliant with HR laws. Finally, customer feedback loop. Customer relationship management software has come a long way since the ACT days. Systems need to be easy to use for your clients to communicate. The software can also create knowledge base where clients can answer their own questions. And some of these systems are even leveraging AI tools to help quickly answer questions. Okay, so we're looking at benefits of automation. So some of the gains that a business can achieve by automating. And I think certainly should resonate with everyone. Saving time, saving money, and improving compliance. Okay, so one area where I've seen automation gains in the most is in, maybe no surprise, payroll and HR departments. We have seen these departments with the most manual processes, and by automating these processes, a business can gain the biggest value for its dollar. And the results that we see are gaining greater visibility into the workforce, into the business's own workforce, reducing errors, and maintaining compliance. Okay, some strategies to implement in the payroll and human resource department include setting up online employee self-service portals, outsourcing payroll processing for human resources, and third is tracking time and attendance electronically. So I think these are the ones that I've seen since the pandemic in the payroll and human resources space. If you haven't implemented any of these, you should definitely look into it. Okay, so let's take a deeper dive into some of these strategies. So employee self-service, or ESS for short. Without ESS, employees must call into or email an HR office and ask staff to look up, change, or in some other manner involve themselves in resolving a query. And this just creates a natural bottleneck, unfortunately. So it can take significant time for both the employees and the HR staff. And the need for this information is especially urgent during onboarding, making more room for gains in productivity with modern ESS. And with a mobile self-service, which is a pretty standard offering, employees can request changes to their schedules through a mobile app, as opposed to filling out paper forms and calendars. And ESS can also help you stay compliant by communicating urgent or regulatory forms to employees for signature or proof that they received the documents. In this day and age, and in the state of California, this sort of documentation is now becoming an almost must-have to stay compliant. Okay, another strategy to consider in the payroll and human resource department is to look at outsourcing payroll processing to a third-party vendor, especially if your business lacks the resources or expertise to manage it internally. Outsourcing can save time and reduce the risk of errors and compliance issues. Now, if that maybe causes some angst, with the business, maybe instead of outsourcing the whole function of payroll and HR, explore using a fractional resource to outsource part of the overall function. For example, creating a handbook or having someone review and update your job descriptions. Check with your payroll provider to see if they have these services. Southland Data Processing has multiple tiers of HR services, from self-service do-it-yourself to complete outsourcing. Okay, another strategy to look at is to implement an electronic timekeeping system to accurately track employee hours worked. Hey, Jeff, I just wanted to do a quick check. How are we doing time-wise?
Yeah, Steve, I think we're doing great. You're, a lot of good information, and yeah, I think we're good. I think you can go through some more slides. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So time and attendance. So having an automated or electronic form of timekeeping reduces errors associated with manual timekeeping and ensures compliance with wage and hour laws. With the increase in the remote workforce, looking to expand the collection of time beyond the traditional clock and utilize PC or mobile timesheets. So get rid of those old clunker clocks because biometric is the future. So when I say biometric, I mean like fingerprint, a facial scan. It's a highly accurate way to track employees' attendance and take the hassles out of payroll. Systems have advanced to the point where business no longer needs to capture sensitive information. The system refers to data or measurements that are based on individuals' physical or behavioral characteristics. Options include face, finger, and voice. As I mentioned, among other things, this eliminates buddy punching. So that's the practice of one coworker punching in and out, maybe early or late for another, and ensures that the timekeeping is going to be very clean and accurate. Okay, so now we're talking about scheduling. So another automation in the time and attendance world is scheduling. Although varying by vertical industry, managers can spend a significant portion of their time creating employee work schedules. Automated scheduling can reduce this time by an average of 75%. In addition, manual scheduling often leads to a 3 to 6% increase in labor costs due to unintentional schedule padding. Automated scheduling reduces this padding as the process is no longer Excel driven, requires less manual intervention when developing. Shift availability and shift swapping is a much easier thing. Imagine your workforce picking up a drop shift with little action by a manager. They're just notified, when a shift becomes available. Schedule automation can increase compliance as well, especially if you need an employee that needs a specific license or certification to do the job. These systems can make sure that you are scheduling employees who have the right skills and licensing for the job.
Steve, can I ask a few questions at this point? Because the content has been phenomenal, but I just want to ask just a few questions. When we think about, when I say we, a small business owner myself, we think about having employees and creating a, kind of a DIY portal where they can actually do most of the heavy lifting. How much, at what size of a business is this become, valuable? And we can say, hey, for the cost of implementing that, the savings outweighs the cost.
I think really any business that's over 5 employees should at least have a conversation, should at least check out their options. I'm not going to say that, hey, for sure, that's the point that somebody needs to, start subscribing to HR. But I would say at 5 employees, you should start looking at it. I would say definitely 10 employees, some kind of I think like the do-it-yourself tier that I just referred to is a great solution. So, we call it HR on demand. As the name implies, there's an incredible amount of resources in the HR support center, along with HR consultants that are there that can be engaged via phone or chat. And if you have a question about a certain item, for example, let's say you decide that you need to terminate somebody and you've never done it before, you can download a letter, a customizable letter that will show you the areas that you can customize. You can send it in to the consultant. They will come back usually typically in a business, within a business day, with any kind of changes or suggestions, and that's something that you can use. So it can be as simple as that.
Well, I did love the example of saying, hey, you know what? I don't need you for everything, but that heavy lift of a employee handbook or making sure we stay compliant. How many businesses could benefit from that with the average? I think there's about 43 or 44,000 small businesses in the Coachella Valley. And I think, wow, how many of those businesses out there could use that when isn't having a employee handbook almost a state regulation?
It is, and it's really it is almost like the business's Bible. I mean, if you want to
Mm,
look at it that way, it really defines everything for the employees, and it's something that not having one, hey, may not mean the end of the world for a business, but having one helps ensure that if you decide to terminate an employee, you can refer to the handbook and say, listen, this is clearly laid out in the handbook that this sort of behavior or performance or something that you did was like say stealing is wrong, and so that it's and typically as part of having a handbook, all employees sign that they've reviewed and and accept the handbook. So these are things that I think you mentioned all those businesses, and I bet if there's anybody listening, maybe some smaller businesses, and maybe they're going to say, "Oh, come on, Steve, I've never had any HR problems. I have a very loyal staff. They're friends, they're family, things like nobody's going to raise a stink." But I think that's the temptation, there is because that's often how many small businesses start. They start with very loyal employees, maybe families, friends, and things like that. And really, those are not the people that a business has to worry about. It's
mm.
people that they might choose to hire after that, and uh, doing things that might have you thought maybe were okay. You never gave it a second thought. For family and close friends, it's different when start to when you grow enough that you need to hire other people. I mean, you need to be really functioning, showing that you're a responsible, caring employer, and having a good HR program is part of that. And plus you're protecting your business, so you're positioning yourself as a company that hopefully people will want to work at, and help you retain your people, but you also protect your business.
Well, I want to ask it because since COVID, we've had a tremendous growth, I guess, a flexing and a retraction of people that are remote workers. More and more people I talk to say, "Oh, I do. My business is out of my home, or I'm remote." And with your timekeeping, how do you address that?
So it's a mobile app. I would say that for any remote employees, they're going to clock in and out through a mobile app. And I'm sure business owners out there are immediately thinking, because I mentioned the buddy punching, saying, well, how the heck do I know somebody is where they're at
Mm,
when they're clocking in, and then when they're clocking out, that they're still at their job site, or a patient, a client or something like that. So there's a technology known as geofencing, and it's GPS technology essentially. So employer, or actually we can work with with our clients, with the employer, to help set up. So people are in something of a geographic area. If it's determined that okay, they're if they're working, they're going to be in this geographic area, and so we can lay that out. So they aren't allowed to clock in unless they're in that geographic area, or clock out. So that's the way sort of prevent maybe people from abusing uh, the uh, the mobile timekeeping.
It seems like, something that pops in my head, especially here in Southern California and the desert, where it can be pretty hot. So we'll see people that are contractors, roofers, tilers, whatever, landscapers. They hit the ground at, sun up, and they're actually just reporting to, let's say, if you're a landscaper, first location. Like my guy was here at 6:30 this morning. I see roofers and things like that, where people working on stuff, and they're actually on the job site. They don't go into an office; they go to the job site. do you just then use that same geofencing for that same, like their first location, or is that something that's a permanent? How does that work?
Yes, but I think we can take it a step further. I think something that you kind of touched upon is oftentimes, and so if you're talking about construction folks, healthcare folks, you're right. They might be moving from one site to another, one job to another, and these are jobs that may pay differently too. So those are things that need to be, it's important to capture that in the timekeeping. So, again, I'm not sure that I can understate the effectiveness and the intelligence of modern automated timekeeping, but these are all things that can be programmed in. And so, in the form of a drop-down menu, if you're a construction person and you're at job A, it can show, it'll show in your drop-down menu what you're clocking in and out for. And if you're heading out to job B in the afternoon, you clock out, and it'll give you that option to clock in there, and then he'll have the associated, the commensurate rate of pay, hourly wage, and things like that.
I think it's great. A client or a friend of mine who comes to mind has a business where she takes care of people's homes that are away. It's their second or third home, and she maintains their homes. And of course, these people are driving to and from all the time. And I believe she uses a product you offer or you supply, and the accuracy of that is indisputable, because there was a time where it's like, no, I was there, and there was no proof of it. They just clocked in, clocked out. Now with what you're talking about, it cleans that up. And, for any future debate, because we are a very litigious society, unfortunately, and especially in California, is at least you've got a leg to stand on if you're the employer. Said, no, you did, and you did clock in here and here. So I can see where that become extremely valuable.
Sure, Jeff, and you touch upon the record keeping. So because this is automated, the record keeping is automated, and so if there is a need to audit that record keeping, if you do have an employee, maybe whether fairly unfairly, they decide that maybe they weren't allowed certain things, that the timekeeping wasn't accurate. Maybe they weren't allowed to. Another important element is being able to track meal breaks. Maybe California might be the most stringent in terms of making sure that employees are entitled to rest and meal breaks. And so having those properly tracked, and if an employee doesn't take a meal break within their first 5 hours, assuming they're an 8-hour-a-day employee, the employer owes them 1 hour of wages. So those are things that need to be, if you can show that you're automatically tracking those and taking care of those. So if you ever have a wage and time dispute, just having all that information at your fingertips, I think is going to make for less of a frustrating process.
Well, Steve, it's obvious that you are a wealth of knowledge, and SDP can certainly jump in and help those businesses out there. I'm going to put your information on the screen because I suspect, I have a feeling that almost every business has something that says, well, my business is different. And that's where you want to get a hold of Steve and give him a call at 909-946-2032 and really dive in and say, here's what my business is. And Steve can sit down with you and say, this is what's going on. And you see it going across a screen. You can also email him at steve.mann, that's MANN, at sdppayroll.com. Again, or call in 909-946-2032. Steve, if someone were to call you now, I think it says that you have a complimentary consultation. Tell us a little bit about that before I let you go.
That's true. No, it's as it implies. Anyone wants to call, have any questions, and discuss, and we certainly share our clients' perception that their business is unique. So I think taking the time to sit down with them, and no strings attached, no obligation. I think our goal is that people come away educated, the questions they might have answered, aware of some of the options that are available to them. And we're not policemen. So if somebody says, let's just say, for example, we've just been talking about timekeeping. Someone says, hey, Steve, that automated timekeeping sounds good, but I think I'm just going to keep doing it where we do the handwritten cards, or we have this clock that my dad bought 30 years ago that put it in at punches and stuff like that. Okay, that's okay. If you want to keep doing that, but I feel like what we want to make sure is that everybody that we talk to just has an awareness of the potential exposure, the potential consequences of what they're doing if it isn't compliant. So we just say, listen, we just don't want you to be surprised, because hey, I'd be lying if I said that every prospect or client that I talked to took my advice. But I think, again, just want to make sure they're aware of the options they have available. So, something happens later on and say, well, Steve, we didn't listen to you, and you were right. So somebody came back and kind of bit us in the behind. Versus, hey, I talked to you, and you never made me aware of any of these potential risks or exposures. That's what we don't want. Someone coming back with.
Well, I think that makes good sense. It's almost like every time we start a new business, unless you're a serial entrepreneur, there are things that you need to know. And it's always nice. I think back, I have this vision of like, hey, when I started riding a bike, I rode a bike with training wheels on it, so I didn't fall down. And it made me a more confident bicycle rider. And I'm thinking, wow, SDP could be your training wheels that you don't have to take off. And you can say, hey, even if it's an on-demand type of thing, like you said, HR on demand, you can kind of go along and say, I know when it comes to payroll, I have my training wheels in place. Not to demean SDP. I'm saying that's a real positive thing of like, it's almost like those rub strips on the freeway. If I take my eye off the wheel and I hit the rub strip, I immediately get back on track. And as a business owner, let's face it, you cannot afford to be off track when it comes to HR and payroll.
No.
So, Steve, once again, we want to put across the screen, steve.mann, that's 2 N's at the end, at sdppayroll.com, or call him at 909-946-2032. I look forward to diving into the second half. Just tease us, and what do we expect in the second half of this presentation when we get together next week?
It's a little more of the same. I think just kind of wrapping up some additional ways that we help businesses, and just a little more of the same. But just I think come away with a complete picture of really the things that every business should know that can help them save time and money and be compliant.
Is it possible, do you think, in that second half, now that we've got a little time, do you have any like case studies? Is this something that, and again, this is coming from being naive, is that something you can share and say, hey, here's a case study of where a business stepped in and we stepped in with the business. This is where they were at. We did this, and this, and over 6 months, this is what we did, and this is the result. Do you have any of those case studies like that?
I would be happy to share that. I'm a big believer in testimonials and success stories. So certainly we can. I can come up with 1 or 2 examples of that to share.
Fantastic. Well, Steve, thank you again so much. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy, and I hope your phone is ringing off the hook, or there's a lot of messages there for the free consultation. Again, that phone number is 909-946-2032. That's Steve Mann with 2 N's. And I know Steve personally, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the most caring, kind individuals I've ever met. And I know if you get with him, you'll feel the same way, and he'll take care of you with SDP. Steve, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, and make sure you come prepared to take notes. And the biggest note you want to take is write down Steve's phone number at 909-946-2032. Steve, have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.